Well, ladies and gentlemen, joining us is an artist. Maia Sharp is a singer, songwriter, and a producer. I've been a fan of hers for years. And when her publicist reached out to me and said, would you like a copy of her album and would you like to interview her? I thought, okay, this is my lucky day. So this is the new album. It's called Mercy Rising. And I've been having a good time despite the traffic driving
Yeah.
around because I have this album to listen to, and it's so great to have Miss Sharp with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for listening and enjoying the album. It'll be out for everybody on May 7th, but I'm happy that you got, you know,
In advance.
a little sneak of it. Yeah.
One of the perks.
Yeah.
So, you know, I couldn't help but think when I saw the title, there is a great songwriter in Nashville, John Goodwin, and he said something on the show that I've never forgotten. And he said, mercy is the most important thing in the world.
Hmm.
But Mercy Rising, can you tell us what made you decide this is going to be the title of the album, the title track, if you will?
Right. Yeah, it felt like it was the kind of overreaching theme of the record. The the concept of the song Mercy Rising is that I've tried everything to get over this person. I've changed all of my habits. I've pushed forward. I've stayed up later. I've slept longer. I've had less wine. I've had more wine. I've exercised more. I've tried to like meet a bunch of new people. Like I've tried all of these things that I felt like were within my, you know, you know, you know, control, although that's a shifty word because right. But now I'm just waiting for a shift. I'm waiting for something to change. And so the idea of Mercy Rising is like looking up, you know, like looking up at the sky and thinking, just show me one little shift. Show me a constellation that I've never seen before. Show
Hmm.
me a brighter star. Show me a darker one. Show me something new. I need something to change. And that's it just kind of felt like that was the general the mission of this album is to push through this thing to make it. And actually it turns out the album itself is what helped me to get on the other side of it, just
Hmm.
to write these songs and to record them and to know that they're about to be out in the world. And that release is what was finally the shift. And art imitates life, life art helps life. I don't know what that is.
Is it at all intimidating when you're about to put an album out into the world?
Intimidating how, like, how people are going to receive it?
Yeah. Is there anything about it? Maybe the word isn't intimidating, but you know, there's this here's your work. You've been working on it. It's really come from your heart and soul. And then you're presenting it. It seems like it would almost like from an emotional standpoint be intimidating.
Mm. Well, it may have been when I first, started all this stuff when I was 25 or something like that, around there. Um, these days, though, I think I have the advantage of just having, I don't know, the advantage of experience and years, and I know that this is what I wanted to put out in the world. I'm really, really proud of it. And I felt like this is the authentic version of everything that I wanted to say in the way that I wanted to say it. So people are going to receive it however they are. I mean, there's no way to please everybody. Hopefully they will enjoy it. Hopefully somebody will see a little bit of themselves in it. But, if they don't, that's fine. They should go find something that they do. No, I don't put any weight anymore on the reception of it.
Well, with that said, there has been a lot of really incredible praise that people have expressed, and I thought this was cool. Um, from Bonnie Raitt, and she said,
Yeah.
Maya is a master in her absolute prime. And from Kev Mo, what a lovely album. I hit play and it put me in a beautiful trance that I couldn't get out of.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, the two of them, they're both such great artists and so true to themselves too. And um, they're really good friends too. I talk to them often. Um, yeah, I just talked to Bonnie a couple days ago, and she's just so real and so powerful in her like understated way, and just yeah, I've learned a lot from her. Um, and her praise still. I mean, I've known her. We met when she recorded my songs in 2005. So what are we? We've been friends for 16 years, and still, when I hear her say that, when she writes something like that or says something like that to me, it still hits me like, oh my God, Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, she's still a badass, and she still has that. Okay, so what I said earlier about not putting weight on the reception of it, it's important to me that she likes it. Okay, as long
Well,
as she likes it, I'm okay. Yeah.
this might be a hard question, but has there been a compliment, and not necessarily from these legends, but it could be from a fan? Has there been a compliment that you've received through the years that has meant the most to you?
Hmm. Ooh, I wish I had a minute to think about that one. Because there have been some that just wallop, that like I didn't realize I needed to hear that. I didn't realize that that's really what I was going for when I put that song out in the world. Um, I think anytime, and I don't know what the specific words are, but anytime somebody tells me that they needed to hear that song, that they were in a bad place or they were confused, and um, they really appreciate that that song found their ears at this point in their lives. That to me is like, okay, there's a woman. All right, I got it. I had just finished playing this great opera house in Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. P.S. Haunted as hell. Like it was like there was some shit going on backstage. Like there's nobody back there, and these noises are happening. Woo. Okay, and I'm not the only one that thinks that. Okay, so we finished the show, and I was out in the lobby, and we had just played "I Don't Want Anything to Change," which was one of the Bonnie songs. She recorded 3 in 2005, and that was one of them, and she sang the living hell out of it. I put it on my album like 10 years later, because she needed to just like it needed to just be hers, for 10 years. um, but I played it live at the show, and a woman walked up to me, and the song itself, when we were writing it, was meant to be like the end of a relationship, or that's how we were thinking about it. But this woman walked up to me in Maine and said, "I just thank you so much for that song. My husband passed away about a year ago, and my friends are telling me it's time to move on. It's time to move on." And I've been telling them, you know what? I'm just not ready to move on. I just don't want to. And now I have your song, and I can tell them I just don't want anything to change yet.
Hmm.
To have to be any part of her life when she's going through that, it was just like, okay, I remember that. Apparently I will always remember it, because that was probably 2006, 2007, and it's like it was last week. And that just meant the world to me, that I helped her at all, you
Hmm.
know.
Something else that I noticed about Mercy Rising, and a lot of times with when there are singers songwriters that release albums, they almost sound like demos, and that can be a really good sound. But it, it seemed like one of the things, I mean, the songs are great, but the production really jumped out at me too.
Oh, well,
A
thank you.
a very well-produced album. Um, it and I kept thinking this phrase when I was listening to it, like, hauntingly beautiful.
Ah, well, thank you very much.
What would you say was the best lesson that you learned in terms of becoming a producer?
Um, well, the way I choose to produce, and I think it's because I produce myself as the artist first, before I started to produce others, and then on this album, I'm producing me again. Is very. I think I'm choosing to do this because it's enjoyable for the artist who is often me. I surround myself with extremely talented people and I listen to them. And I I like that these songs, because they've been so just inside of my head for so long. I like that they get a chance to breathe a little bit and get to run through other, you know, other players that have ideas about them first before they're, finally printed. So I made sure to just surround myself with some people that I really just really respect everything that they do and all of their ideas. So it started, I tracked it here in Nashville. My buddy Joshua Grange has a really, really nice studio here. And he is like a player of all things that have any strings on them. He'll just like pick it up and play something amazing on it. So like he's playing just about every electric guitar part on the record, steel guitar, lap, lap steel or pedal steel. He threw some synth stuff down on there too, and he knew a drummer and a bass player that he had just worked with that he loved, and I knew that if Josh was into them, it was going to work. So we hired Ross McReynolds and Will Honecker, and we were just like instantly a team. And also, I'm so glad that we did it at the end of 19. So it was before the lockdown. So we got to be humans live in a room, and we took everything. I had a production plan for everything. Like I knew what the forms were, I charted everything, even though they wanted to write their own charts, which is fine. But, you know, I had like a general kind of arc theme and form and, does this halftime, is a six, whatever. And, but we took everything, probably 6 or 7 times. And in those take, and then I got to take all of those takes home here. And, um, you know, while I'm off the clock, I get to just work with all those. And, I chose my favorite sections of everything. I did all the vocals here, piano, Wurlitzer, acoustic guitar, and just really stew in it and take a lot of time. But what they gave me, those basic tracks were just just high musicianship and just really great ideas. Everybody's listening so hard to each other. Nobody's like, look at me, look at me. It's all just like about the group. And I'm sure that you're hearing that. It was about the glue. Everybody was trying to contribute to the overall sound. And I chose wisely.
So Wendy said that you may be able to play us something.
I may be able to play something. Yeah. Well, look at this right out of this.
Ah, how about that?
um, I mean, I have a couple in mind. Did you have one that you had your heart set on, or whatever?
Oh, how about you tell me what most pops out to you?
For some reason, I'm thinking "Nice Girl." I'm feeling
Okay,
"Nice Girl." Are you feeling
let's do it.
that? Okay. So I'm not sure whether to tell you the story of it before or after. Um, I think it's funnier after.
Okay.
All right. So I wrote this one with my buddy Park. Chisholm. Okay, yeah, after. With those smiling eyes and that bedhead hair, how the woman that you're looking at feels like the only one. A quiet storm behind your 1,000-yard stare, like you want someone to save you, like your running days are done. You make it easy to fall in love with you, but then the rest of it just seems to get so hard to do. Oh well, I won't worry about you, babe. Hey, you're gonna make some nice girl miserable someday. You can't take a rain cloud and tell it not to rain. You can't make a river stop thinking about the sea, and you can't change somebody who doesn't want to change, and you can't take forever too seriously. Yeah, my prediction, as close to well wishing as I can say. Hey, you're gonna make some nice girl miserable someday, somewhere. She's waiting there for you. She'll swear you hung the moon the same way that I used to. Yeah, maybe she'll stick around for a few more ups and downs than I could stand. Well, maybe she's nicer than I am. Yeah. You'll make it easy to fall in love with you, but then the rest of it will start to get so hard to do. One of you will cry, and one of you will walk away. Oh, but I wouldn't worry about it, babe. Hey, you're gonna make some nice girl miserable someday. Yeah. Hey, you're gonna make some nice girl miserable someday. Woo! The sound of one man clapping. Thanks.
Thank you. So what's the story?
That's the most like literal word for word line out of my real life. Like all of these songs have some to a lot of truth in them, but that was it sounds like I'm singing that to somebody else, but my now ex-wife and I, as we were going through our split in the last year, and it was a brutal one, and it was so hard, and we were already redefining our friendship, and I'm very happy to say we have managed to stay very, very close. There's so much we were together for so long, and in so many of those ways, still all the love is still there. We talk all the time. We're totally there for each other. So happy about that. But in the middle of the split, and we're sitting down having just a brutal conversation, and she looks right at me and she says, "You know what? It's okay. You're gonna make some nice girl miserable someday." And I looked at her like, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're just writing that down. You're just gonna write a song out of that, aren't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, look, it landed. You totally made your point. It hurt, but yeah, that's a great idea for a song." And she's like, kind of like, she totally knows the look of like, Like, it doesn't matter how mean or sad or anything, it's just like, it's so exciting when it's a potential song idea. So I brought it over to my buddy Park and told him the story. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're writing that." Yeah.
Wow. When I was listening to it the first time, I thought, "Oh, okay, it's gonna say you're gonna make a nice girl and then it's a I was like, "Oh, no, that's not what she said."
No, no, that's not what she meant at all. No.
Interesting. Now we know.
Yeah, yeah, the tables turn.
So, Maya, who would you say are the songwriters who have made the biggest influence on you?
Mm. Well, my dad was the first one, Randy
Mm,
Sharp. He's a just craftsman, a wonderful songwriter. He was the first writer that I wrote with, and first songs that I heard, probably, before I was even literally out in the world. I was hearing his songs. So he's definitely the first. I grew up on, well, Bonnie Raitt and Paul Simon. Listened to a lot of Paul Simon and the way that he crafts a song. And also, I love the kind of looseness of like Ricky Lee Jones. So I think I tried to, I'm always trying to find like that, the um, maybe more old school writing like a Paul Simon and then a little like let it be a little weird,
mhm.
like a Ricky Lee Jones. But yeah, there's been so many writers through the years. I think those were the earliest though. I listened to a lot of Joni, but I don't know that she's a direct influence. I'm just in awe of her. I don't know how much of her thing I've managed to apply to my thing. Um, but yeah, she's in there also, for sure. And Jackson Brown, listen to a lot of Jackson. And then recently, I mean, there's so many awesome new artists. I'm just like addicted to everything Phoebe Bridgers does.
Mhm.
That just works every time, no matter how, right down the middle or how kind of wacky her own thing it is. It just always seems to work really well. Um, yeah, Lucius. I don't know. There's a lot of it that's flying around. The earliest, though, I'm gonna say is Paul Simon and Ricky Lee.
What would you say is the biggest lesson or the thing that you learned from your father, Randy Sharp,
Mm.
that has helped you the most as an artist?
Um, well, he was definitely always authentic to himself and v- very patient with his pursuit of a song. Like he never decided that it had to be done, by 2 p.m. or it's only done when he has really captured it and said it in the absolutely best way that he knows how. Um, so I definitely don't, especially when it's something for me. I don't rush anything. Like, and if a rewrite shows up in the studio, that's okay. So I think he showed me that. He showed me the patience and that it's worth it. And he's also had a couple of his songs, and clearly that thing that he's applying to his songs uh, worked for him because he's had some songs that were so timeless and ageless that they were recorded 15 years after he wrote them. And that to me is what, like, I want people to remember my songs that I wrote, 20 years ago. Having people ask me for a song that was on my first album, I love that. Like
Hmm.
that they remember that hung in there in their minds. That means it wasn't a flash in the pan. It wasn't chasing something that was popular then because it'd be over now, you know, or we'd have to wait for the next time it came around, you know. But that it it lingered, it lasted, and that was worth all of the time that I put into those songs. And Dad showed me that.
Hmm.
Another writer would be Jason Isbell. I need to add Jason to the stack because I feel like, I mean, I've never met him and asked him how he thinks about it, but I have a feeling we think about writing in a similar way.
Hmm.
I love his work.
Well, what you were saying about, you love it when somebody goes back and they say, "Hey, play this song from the first record." Now that you've recorded, this is the eighth album, isn't it?
I've lost track. It's 8 or 9. I don't know.
How does that feel to have created a body of work like that? Not just the songs other people were recorded, but also now this Mercy Rising album. You've released quite a lot of work.
Yeah, and they're all just, you know, a snapshot of where I was at the time, but I did work really hard on every one of them. There's a couple years between albums, and that's not an accident. It's because I'm really letting the songs brew and stew and see which ones want to be on the same album. Um, and then the process of actually recording the album and getting it out in the world. Um, but I like that I have that kind of imprint of, oh, here's where I was in 98. This is what I was doing in 2000. Here's 2003. Here's 2000. So I'm trying for the ageless. I love that they survive, but I can see that there's a shift in every album. And probably like a lot of artists, my favorite one is the latest one because it's kind of the closest to where I am now. And I feel like I've applied every time I make a new album, I apply whatever I learned from the last one and, the life experience. And as you get older, you get, some more life experience. And hopefully, if you care enough about it, you get more skills um, toward actually expressing that. You observe more angles on the same event, and you find new and hopefully wiser ways to express what you've seen. So I hope, I mean, on an album from now in a couple years, I might look back at this and be like, oh, I've learned so much since then. But now um, I feel like this is this is my best work, I think. But it's up to you guys.
uh, well, it was I think maybe about a week ago, and I was interviewing Vince Melamed,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling us this story, and he was talking about how he was in the studio, he was recording something with Bob Dylan, and he told Bob that he thought he could do a lot better. Uh, and I've always been fascinated when I hear about artists and how they they're searching for feedback or whatever, and sometimes people are afraid of they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but yet an artist is always pushing for tell me what your honest opinion
Oh yeah.
is. Is there somebody around you that you really super trust this person, like throughout the making of this album? Maybe you let them hear it
Mm.
and you want that feedback from them.
Well, yeah. Oh, let me see. You know the my friend whose studio, you know, where I tracked, and he's the guitar player on everything, Joshua Grange. He always gives it to me straight, and I know that if he likes it, I rose to the occasion. So having his opinion along the way, having him on the team, from the beginning. And I went around, so I did some stuff here, and then I sent some of the stuff back to him for like one more, steel part, or it needs one more, like some crazy, like high-strung acoustic thing that I think I saw hanging on your wall, you know? So I also got his opinion a little bit later in the game on some of the songs. So yeah, that was a big one. I did send it out to friends, but not like the whole thing before it was mixed, you know? Uh, Josh was the one that was like there all along the way. And there were absolutely times where he's like, I don't know that that's really nailing it. You know, I'm not sure that's really it. I think it should be this or that. And usually, you know, once I heard his thoughts on it, I was, you know, I was right there with him.
This is maybe a tough question, but is there a song from Mercy Rising that you think best represents the album, or you think, wow, this is, if I say so myself, this is a real knockout?
You're gonna make me not be humble right now in this moment. I think
No,
this is a badass song, my song.
yeah.
um, I mean, I gotta say, I'm really proud of Whatever We Are. That to me is the kind of writing that I always want to do. It's a little I'm afraid to say simpler, but it's a little more straightforward, more in like the Paul Simon, like, you know, the Jason Isbell form. Like it doesn't go off the rails really at all, and a couple of the songs will. You know, a few of the songs on that album do kind of, you know, their own thing. This one stays into a pretty classic form, but I'm just super proud of it.
Would you perhaps like to perform that song for us?
Ah, that's where this was going. Glad I didn't choose one that's impossible to play live. So yeah, so this is called Whatever We Are. I wrote it with my buddies Anna Schulze and Thomas Fincham. Um, where do I capo this bad boy? Um, So I wrote the first two verses on a very long drive down from Syracuse, New York to Nashville. I don't know how many hours it is, but it's a lot. And I um, had somebody on my mind that was just, I was carrying around a little bit of resentment about, like, why isn't this person seeing things the way I'm seeing them? And I'm not really, they're being very unclear about kind of what we are now. And this wasn't my ex-wife, by the way. Um, she's very clear. We're very clear. I love it. This is, yeah, somebody else. And um, I was sick of feeling like that and, you know, sick of all the questions. There seems to be a theme. I'm tired of feeling like this. Time to move on. So the way that I felt like I could move on here is like, it doesn't even matter. I don't have to know the answers anymore. Maybe we're this, maybe we're that. I'm going to love you whatever we are. Like, I need to just choose loving you, because wondering about you and resenting you and thinking all this stuff is just like occupying way too much of me. You're probably not thinking about it at all. I mean, that's always the case, is like, I'm the only one that's hauling this around. You're fine. Like, I don't want to haul it around anymore. So I brought those first two verses to my friends a couple of weeks later, and we finished it, and they were on board. They totally saw it. Never again, we're just not today. The first of our kind, or the oldest cliche. Right down the middle, or missed it by far. I love you, whatever we are. In the habit, or up in the dose. Two airplanes flying uncomfortably close. Leftover light from a long gone star. I love you, whatever we are. And we've been it all. I still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you, and it's making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. Stuck in the memories, we're trying to move on. Changing the station, we're singing along. In the back of my mind, or the back of your car. I love you, whatever we are. And it puts up a fight. I'll just learn how to see you in another new light. 'Cause we've been it all. I still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you, and it's making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are, you make me better. Yeah, you break my heart, and I'll love you forever, whatever we are. It looks
All
like
right.
the
There's something that I would really like to ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see you perform. This has been quite a number of years back, but I got to see you perform alongside Buddy Mondlock and
Mm.
Art Garfunkel.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say that of all of the albums in Art Garfunkel's discography, Everything Waits to Be Noticed is just, it is a shining example of
Oh,
what a,
thank you. Yeah, that was such a great experience. Yeah, did you see that at Chastain Park?
I saw it in, I believe I was in Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that whole experience with him, all of it. I mean, the writing, the recording, on the road. We went to Europe too. It was just awesome.
And an incredible album.
Well, thank you.
What is Art like to write with?
Well, so he had never written songs. He didn't write any of the Simon and Garfunkel stuff, but he had written prose for years.
Right.
And he had a book of prose that we started. So the first probably three songs that we all wrote together, we started with his prose. So like The Thread and Everything Waits to Be Noticed and a couple others, but those were the early ones. Those were take like the first verse or two, and the just kind of overall idea was taken from words that he had already written. So I know that helped because he felt like he was already a huge part of the song. So even though he had never written a song before, he had already written half a song because of the prose, and so we just did the music to it. And all of those songs were kind of different writing uh, combinations. Those two songs happened to be Buddy Art and me, but there were some other writers in there too. Billy Mann, who brought us all together and produced the album, wrote with us in various combinations also. And some of those also started with words that Art had already written, and we just kind of songified them, you know.
Interesting.
But I think it helped because he's obviously a bigger star than we are, but we had done a lot more songwriting than he had. So I think there was something a little closer to a level playing field because this was his first time in the writing realm. Um, but yeah, he's always been very supportive, and I learned so much singing with him. And a lot of our approach to it, like we avoided, 3-part harmony like the plague. I think we had it maybe like 2 times on the whole album. There's a lot of unison. There's a lot of like weaving in, like I'm weaving in and out of them. They're weaving around me. Um, so there's a lot of somehow because my voice is lowish and his is highish, we ended up unison a lot. So I had to match freaking Art Garfunkel, like his phrasing and his breath to note, like ratio is the biggest I've ever heard and felt. There's so much air in his note. So I learned a ton from that. Like I gotta take a big old lungful to get through this line and to match him. And yeah, I learned a lot. His range is awesome also. There are plenty of moments where he's going higher. He's going higher than I am. And more effortlessly, it seems.
What is he like?
He is wicked smart. Like he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever known, and he makes observations that nobody else, I haven't heard anybody else see the world like that. He was going to be a math professor, um, first before Simon and Garfunkel, like, really took off. His mind works like that. He he loves a map. He loves a math equation. He loves to draw real life stuff. Like the whole concept of the thread is like at the corner of 53rd in the summer of 62. Like he likes to cross life with math and a map and a point in time. And just the way that he looks at the world and thinks about the world is just a very, very unique thing. Um, I mean, he could get a little prickly sometimes, but we were also, under a little bit of stress,
Hmm.
and he was always very supportive of me. He was always very, um, he just always felt like a friend, and you know, when we could travel, whenever I went up to New York, we would try to get together and um, yeah, he's really funny too. He can be really serious and then just really funny, all like in a couple seconds. Yeah.
Oh, I never mentioned this on the show before, but I bumped into Art Garfunkel one time
Yeah.
in Macon, Georgia. He was as nice as can be,
Great.
and I'll never forget this. Then he said, "Well, I'll see you later." And he got in he got in this car. This guy was driving him away, and as the car drove away, he just continuously waved like this. And
That's
that was
great.
the last time I saw Art Garfunkel.
Aw, sounds like
But
a song. That's the last time I saw Art Garfunkel.
you have had so many incredible singers who have decided to record your work. I mean, in terms of people who are known for singers, for being great singers, Bonnie Raitt, Trisha Yearwood, as we've been mentioning, Art Garfunkel, Edwin McCain.
Yeah.
Could you say that somebody has done the best job recording something you wrote or co-wrote?
I don't think I can. I mean, I'm so lucky to have a panel of singers like that. And I'm also really lucky. I have songwriter friends that have had their songs recorded and they're like, "Hey, I just got a cut. It's really exciting, but don't go listen to it because they totally botched it." I've been really fortunate that those singers. First of all, I already loved them. I already wanted to hear their voice, whether it was singing my song or not. And then they all like just really understood the song and honored it and made it their own. So, I mean, I really don't. I mean, it's always such a thrill to hear a great singer sing sing my words. It's been something I've pursued from the very beginning too. Like my very first cut was with Cher, and it was the year before my very first album was out, and I was hooked on that feeling of like, in the days where like you physically purchased the record and then like you flip it over and you look at the song title and M Sharp is under one of those songs. It's like I'm in. I'm hooked. This is such a high. And then to hear a familiar voice sing this song that I never knew what was going to happen with the song. I just worked on it, wrote it, and found a way to get it out there. Um, so yeah, I just love that feeling, and I love the compliment of somebody occupying a space on their album with one of my songs. So yeah, I could never choose. It's always a thrill.
Well, has there been an interpretation of a Maya Sharp song that surprised you? And that doesn't necessarily mean in a good way or a bad way. Just you heard the song for the first time and you thought, that's interesting. I don't know how they came up with that.
Interesting. Um, the ones I'm thinking of, everybody stayed fairly close to the demos. I've even had the great opportunity to be a part of their versions, like after they heard the demo. Like, uh, yeah, let me see. Bonnie and I met in the studio for the first time because she asked me to come in and sing a harmony and to recreate some of the saxophone section stuff that I had done on those songs. Trisha Yearwood asked me to come in and recreate the background vocal on our song. Yeah, the chick stayed pretty close to the demo. I'm trying to think. Maybe Bonnie's version of The Bed I Made, which that was probably that was probably the most unlike my version. And I didn't have my version on an album yet. And then she did her version, and it was so beautiful and just luscious that then when it was time to put it on my album, I copped some of her vibe. Like I stole some of her ideas on it because it was just so good. I mean, of course it was good. It's Bonnie. So yeah, she was probably the biggest like, "Oh, this is different. Like it's slower. It's kind of more embracing the jazz, but also more kind of acoustic percussion. What's going on here?" And then just, "Oh, I know what's going on here. It's freaking awesome." Yeah, that was really wonderful.
Going back to the album Mercy Rising, is there anything that you want the people who listen to it to get from the experience?
Um, I mean, I'm a believer in, just because of the way I listen to music also, I really think everybody is going to tailor the way they receive it to fit their lives at the moment. Like, I listen to albums. First of all, I like listening to full albums. So, what I really want them to do is listen to the whole thing and not just like the first three singles on Spotify or whatever, but like the album as an album. Because I really did think about it as an entire body of work. Um, and then I I fully support absorbing it the way that you need to absorb it that night or whatever for that, you know, car ride. Um, I want it to apply, and I tried to write it. I mean, obviously there are specific stories in there, and a lot of it is real. But I also tried to choose language that's universal enough to where you can interpret it to just be the feeling that you need right now. So that's what I'm hoping. I hope that people can absorb it the way that that they need to. Because for me, that's how that's how listening to music saves me. Is like, oh, I needed to feel this.
Hmm. I like what you said there, that everybody gets pretty much maybe what they are supposed to, or maybe what they want to get from it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly what the lyric is saying, but if you just need to feel a little better or a little more wallow in or whatever you need to feel, if that's what you get out of it, then I won.
There have been a lot of times where I've told a songwriter about their song, my interpretation, or what I think about, what it's supposed to mean, and they've said, "Interesting theory. That is not what the song is about at all."
Right. But I'm sure they also said, but I fully support your right to take it like that, right?
Right.
If that obviously that's what you wanted to hear, so hear it.
Well, I always like to end the show. I like to give the guest an open forum.
Mm.
What would you say? There could be people listening anywhere on the globe. What would
Mhm.
you say to anybody who's tuned in with us?
Oh my God, just anything at all?
Sure.
Um, I mean, I think you got to give me a topic, a general topic.
Okay. Uh, let's say somebody is tuning in and, hmm, let's say they're tuning in and they've been very moved by the music that they've heard.
Mm. Um, well, that's what it was intended to do. I'm hoping that you hear something in the music that you needed to hear. Um, I'm hoping that you feel the journey of it because I was thinking of it like that from song one all the way to the end, and then I even added what I guess we're calling it a hidden track, but it's really only because it's like 15 seconds later. um, yeah, this is a very accurate snapshot of the last 2 years of my life where there have been more changes than ever. Just about everything that changed has, but everything that could have changed has. Um, so for those of you who, I mean, a lot of us have been through some pretty wacky changes in the last year and a half now. Um, no, so for those of you who might want to relate to an album like that, hopefully it'll be that for you. Also like the idea of just kind of letting yourself be swept away in the feelings of it and not, necessarily have to have lived. I hope that you haven't lived the sorrow that's in this album. It's not all sorrowful though. I promise. Has a little bit of humor in it all, also. Um, yeah, I just you know, I I just hope that it's what you need to hear when you decide to hit the play button.
Well, Maya, is there perhaps a song that you have to send us on our way?
A send you on your way song. Um, what are we gonna do? We could do Junkyard Dog. Feeling
Okay.
that one? I guess it's a little sorrowful, but it's more angry. stayed by your side so faithfully. Could have worn a sign, said beware of me. Never wandered, no, I never strayed. Nobody got by when I was at the gate. But you can mesmerize me with a barrel fire, go sneak another woman through a tear in the wire, like what we had was just a pile of old tires, and I'm your junkyard dog. Junkyard dog, at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog, howling out in vain. Fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just your junkyard dog. You left me alone for hours on end, and I was true to you again and again. You had me wagging and willing for whatever you could spare. I took what you were given, followed you anywhere. Like a junkyard dog at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog, howling out in vain. Fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just your junkyard dog. Don't be surprised to come home and see a collar and a chain where I used to be. You gotta find another fool, take the place of me, and be a junkyard dog at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog, howling out in vain. Fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just your junkyard dog.
All right. Sounding great.
Thank you. I highly recommend that you check out the album version of that, because Josh is just electric man all over that thing. There's just like lap steels and just killer. 2 drum kits. It's just like wall o blues. So yeah, that was super fun.
Well, that's a fine idea. In fact, everybody, this is what it looks like. Maia Sharp, Mercy Rising. It's going to be coming out very soon.
Mm-hmm.
MaiaSharp.com. That's MAIA. That's how you spell it.
Yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, the talented Maia Sharp. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was really nice to talk to you, Paul.
It's been a real honor. Until next time, I hope.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you.
All right.